I wanted to talk a little bit, totally cash, not going to be a big, not going to be an in-depth, I gotcha, no Oprah. If anyone cries on the interview, it'll be me. Uh, but I did want to kind of lead in with, you said it on the internet, so the internet is forever. You made a commitment to a new Bleachers album in 2022. You said something really beautiful about Take the Sadness Out of Saturday Night. You said that it was about wanting to hold joy and not understanding why you can't. And I thought it was beautiful. But what was that joy that you were trying to hold on to?
Oh, anything. I think it's something that everyone struggles with. Just sort of, it's very easy to, if something good happens in anything, whether you feel good in the morning or something good happens in your work or your personal life, I think it's very common to consider, oh, now something bad has to happen to counterbalance it. I think most people think that way, some worse than others. But I don't think that we culturally have this chip where we think to ourselves, something bad happens, well, now something good has to happen. I don't think people think that. This is sort of like a basic way of looking at it, but it just sort of like led me on this journey of kind of obsessing over where this like crazy pessimism in all of us comes from. Because it's not real. It's like everyone gets out of bed in the morning and everyone goes at some level for the things they want. And, unless you literally end your life, I mean, there's a hope in even just existing. So it's just like a weird spoiler that we all can be so pessimistic or unable to imagine that all the things we require will happen. There's a big theme in the album.
It comes through, but it's presented in a way that is very relatable. It doesn't seem like it's that hard a concept to grasp. It's beautiful. Even though that was last year and you've committed to a new record in 2022, it wasn't the only recording that you did. I've really enjoyed the recording at Electric Lady Studios.
Yeah, I'm really happy to put that out.
How did that come about?
That place is kind of like a home to me, and they were doing a series of recordings there and putting them out. And then through the pandemic, we did some stuff on the roof. We did stuff inside. We just been using the space in all these different ways and kind of amassing these really cool live recordings. And so when it came, Lee, who runs the place, was doing these live Electric Lady series, and we always wanted to do one. But I just thought it could be cool to basically make it like a compilation of all these live recordings we had done around the building. So it's literally everything from like us with Springsteen on the roof to the band kind of broken down, playing How Dare You Want More in Studio D, just all around the building, using the different rooms and the different instruments around.
I had no idea that that's how it was recorded. It sounds literally like you were holed up in a room. You were in Studio D, and
yeah,
but
I mean, it was all going through the same console. Even when we were on the roof, we would patch it down there. So it's like it was kind of like a different take on a live album, but it was all completely live, recorded live, and exactly what you get is how we played it.
How did it feel to record live in real time, one take, with Springsteen and St. Vincent, two of the greatest performers and songwriters?
Yeah,
How did it feel to play live with them for those songs that you had recorded with them?
You almost kind of feel like a little bit like a superhero, like you have like this like backup where you can't be stopped. What could happen? What could go wrong when you're playing with people like that? If you fall, they'll lift you up.
That's a good point. And think about it. You've got a pretty killer band behind you anyways, but there's Springsteen there to back you up too. There's St. Vincent to back you up too. I think I'm good.
Makes you feel like strong, and you can lean on them and vice versa.
Well, so talk about a little bit about how does it feel to take that into a studio on the other side of the glass? How do you bring that strength with you when you're producing a record?
Well, I think the process of all these things is leaning on others or yourself. When you're writing, you're sort of leaning on yourself, finding strong parts of yourself to lean on and push you through it. If you're producing, you're leaning on someone, they're leaning on you. It's these things are kind of I would say the connective tissue between all this is finding strength and going with it. When you're an act as bold as like making an album or writing a song or playing a show, it like doesn't come from focusing on the weak parts of yourself. You might be able to draw inspiration from the weak parts of yourself, but what I like about all of these things and what puts them together, writing, producing, playing, is they are possible because you're leaning on a strong part of yourself, and that's a good thing. You know, um, Talking shit is leaning on a weak part of yourself. Might make you feel strong, but it's leaning on a weak part of yourself. So I think in my life, it's through music, but I think, not to oversimplify something pretty intense, but the way to feel good and happy and successful is to lean on the strong parts of yourself, recognize what they are, and then lean on them, because they give you more, right? So sometimes I get a lot of questions about schedule and how I'm able to do all these different things. And if you love something and it gives you strength, then all of a sudden you have more time than you ever thought. And the same goes for if something is crappy and shitty and hurts you, it can make you feel like you have no time in the day.
Well, talking to you, just we can see one another right now, but seeing you explain that, I mean, I can imagine being on the other side of the glass as you're communicating to an artist who's recording. I can feel how that would come through, and that in itself is a talent and art. Not everybody has that. Do you ever find yourself kind of having to hammer that home about, let's lean on something, strong, let's lean on something good? Do you ever find yourself having to hammer that home because it comes so naturally to you?
Yeah, definitely. I think we all do. I think recognizing it is sort of the highest form of it. Like knowing what it is in you that's good, and knowing what it is in other people that's good, is kind of as good as it gets. It doesn't, you're never immune to all of the bad voices and all the darkness and stuff like that. But at least if you recognize it, then you know what you're doing. So this isn't to say that like making records or writing or things like this there isn't a ton of self-hatred, stress, anxiety, feelings of loss, or whatever it is. It just means that the work is done at its best when at least you know why you're doing it and you can grab it. Kind of like looking for like diamonds or something like that. It's like you have to know what you're looking for, because if you're trying to look for something, and I think this is, I know it well in my experience through art, but I think it's services, like it's a greater point about life. If you're searching, and we're all searching, and you don't know what you're searching for, that's when you can make bad decisions. So to make a tiny version of it, that's when you can make bad records. If you don't know why you're doing it or what you're trying to say or where the strengths are. If you do, then you're just on a journey, and it's exciting, and there's ups and downs. But that to me is like everything. It's just why are we doing this? And if you can't answer that question, and it doesn't be like some sort of succinct PR answer, but if you don't know in your gut why you're doing it and what you're looking for, then you're at risk of being sort of caught up by bad forces.
It sounds like being very intentional is really core.
Yeah. And really like clear with yourself about what you're good at. and I think we all have a tendency to, open doors that aren't necessarily good for us. Right. But there's a lot of discipline in that, I think. And it's exciting when you start seeing it like happen.
Right. I can imagine that. Okay, let's just try this. And then as you start to see, it works. It's
a bit of a leap of faith. It's easy to say, like, let's focus on these strong parts of ourselves, but you start doing it over and over again with yourself and with other people. And you say, okay, it's not like some big hack, because it's still such a process, but this is like a good way to think about making records.
The thing about being on stage again, you are a bleacher show. Just watching you on stage is a show in itself.
Thanks.
No, and it's just you watch this guy who loves what he's doing, and you draw your audience in. And I'm thinking of the Saturday Night Live performances, which were special in for 47 different reasons, right? But I saw your band get energy. Now that they were not energized when you started playing, but they were it was infectious. I mean,
yeah, I mean, it depends on what you got to do what you're doing. If you're up there playing really sad songs, then you should believe it. We're up there, like kind of trying to create a big fire and a big energy as a band. And it's, if we didn't believe it, then I don't think we'd do it. So it's not, we can't really play those songs and not have some sort of kinetic energy between us. That's just what we do.
I just want to say this again about intentional. I hope you give yourself credit for being intentionally intentional. Like that's, you don't really see that. You don't hear that. And, we talked with people in our day-to-day lives. And I hope you give yourself credit for that. That's,
I don't give myself much credit, but I feel a lot of joy when I get to do these things, but that's just what it is. Like putting this tour up, playing on SNL, like there's a lot of shit that's around it. Like even SNL, I mean, like I can't even tell you like the miracle we got on that stage, the amount of like,
you should, I'd love to hear the story.
With COVID, it was just touch and go at every second, the rounds of testing. And this was like the height of Omicron in New York City. It was just crazy it was just wild and so inspiring what our crew and what their crew went through to pull it off. But it does leave you with this feeling where like, when you finally get up there, you're like, well, if we don't just give it everything, then what the hell? Because that was like, a lot of people are working really hard to pull this off. And and I think the pandemic leaves you with both. Like it could be really depressing, but it also could be like a huge reminder of just like what a miracle it is that people can even meet for dinner, let alone meet for a show, let alone 10 people, let alone 500 people, let alone 10,000 people, like you just start to, which has always been in me because I've toured for so long. And like, all my early tours were like no one coming and, no one shows up at the show. 5 people show up. You're like, this is sick. 20 people show up. You're like, fuck yeah. You think 100 people to show is like all you could ever need. So there's a real separation between how you come up, and when you come up that way, you kind of see it like that. And you see especially if you tour, if you look in your industry, right? I'm sure how much goes into a person being able to like flick on their radio and hear someone. They can't know because they don't do it, but and so it's same thing. Like I think every performance, every show is a miracle. Just knowing how much on the back side of it takes like to get the whole circus there.
Well, the Saturday Night Live show, you shared that miracle with your dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did that come about? Was that planned? What did that feel like to be like, all right, Dad, I'm doing it.
He'll play with us every once in a while. And he taught me how to play guitar and stuff. So he's obviously a huge musical influence, but he'll jump on stage here and there and play some stuff. But when we got SNL, I was like, you want to play with us? He was like, sure. I just thought it was
just down the road. Why not?
You look at things like that, like something as big as SNL, you have two choices. You just like, okay, we can either like curate the shit out of this, make some whole big set, make it a whole thing, which is cool. But my vibe was like, fuck this. Let's play like a club. Let's make our SNL performance feel like, the 16th song in a set list when everyone in the room has had a bunch of drinks and we're super loose and we're sweaty and I've called my dad out on stage. Let's make it feel like that. Because, like how many opportunities do you have in your life to be blasted out to that many millions of people, right? So it's like, all right, if that's the case, well, then what do I want to show them? And that, and for some people, it's a super slick, curated performance, and I love that kind of thing too. But for this band and for us at our best, I think about us playing at the show. I think about when we're like in the show and everything's kind of gelling, and it's like I want to create that.
And okay, so 16 songs into the thing, that's when you're feeling it. I mean, they were right out of the gate. It was your first.
Yeah, I mean, you access that feeling. You know what it's like. It's like there's a show is such an art to it. You come out, there's this crazy thing, and there's like the first couple of songs where everyone's like kind of freaking out, and then you kind of settle in for a second, and then like you kind of build it back up. There's just all these different moments of a show. My favorite part though is just when the whole room, band and audience, sort of like become one thing, and it kind of like rises above itself, and everyone in the room knows that like without each other we couldn't have gotten there. Yeah. That's my favorite bit. And so I told the band, I was thinking to myself, like, let's play from that perspective.
Right. I think that if and you've played with them for so long that saying, let's channel that, it's not, it can be pretty easy for them.
Once again, we know the intention, to actually do it is another thing, but to at least have an outlook and a goal of what we want to do up there.
You've been very generous with your time. You always have been with WXRT and our listeners. I think it's very cool that you make a point to include us in things like this. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Can't wait to be out there again.
I was just going to say, when you come, we're looking forward to seeing you. We're looking forward to seeing you with our friends, and really showing you a good Chicago welcome. So, Jack, I can't thank you enough.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
You're very, very welcome. Have a great one. And remember, give yourself some credit, man. That's
okay, I will. I will do that today. You said so. I will do it today. I promise.
Deal.
Take care.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. Bye, Jack. Bye.